Hi, this is the first of some Unreal Engine 5 tutorials that I'll try and do. This first one is looking at the process of using one of the new Metahuman character models as your player character inside Unreal Engine, and we'll just be using the standard third-person game that comes standard with Unreal Engine. So let's get into it. First thing we need to do, of course, is start Unreal Engine. Now this process is documented on the Unreal site, but I thought it might be useful to have a video as well. So come in here, we're going to go to Games, Third Person, so we're choosing the third person game. Let's give it a project name, say Shoot Meta or whatever you wish to call it. We'll just wait while that's created and Unreal gets loaded up. Okay, we have the project loaded, ready to go. If we run the project now, we see that we have our nice silver robot lady running around the level, but we don't want to have a robot lady, we want to have a real lady or a real man, depending on your preference. First thing we need to do now is check the plugins. There's a few plugins that you'll need when we go to import the Metahuman. So go to Plugins on the Edit menu, Edit Plugins. And we need a couple of the plugins called Live Link. So I'll turn that one on and turn that one on. Yes. And we also need Apple. These are required when you do the import. We may not be using Apple at all. I'm not an Apple fan myself, but that's fine. But we need to turn them on. So we configure those plugins, make sure they're on. Also make sure you've got Quixel Bridge enabled. And this is the main bridge between Unreal Engine and Quixel Bridge, where the Metahumans are. So they're the 3 or 4 main plugins you will need. Let's configure those and restart. Okay, we're back into Unreal. Okay, so now up the top here on the Add to Project, you should see the Quixel Bridge icon. Okay, so right up the top, we Add to Project, Import Content, Quixel Bridge. We want to go to Quixel Bridge. And we'll see the Quixel Bridge window open up. Once we're in Quixel Bridge, we have the user ID up here. Okay, now you will need to sign in. I'm just going to sign out so that we can see the process. So coming to here, we go click, we go sign in. And when you sign into Quixel Bridge, you want to use your Epic Games account. Okay, and if you haven't done this before, you'll potentially need to sign up to Quixel Bridge. It's a free service at the moment, but you'll need to go through the process of signing. When you go to sign in, it'll ask you to set up an account. I will sign in with my games account. And when you've done that process and signed in, you'll see is we have the standard home page, and you'll have the home where we have all the nice cool 3D assets, collections, and we have Metahuman. So if you go to Metahumans on the left, we have the humans that have been pre-created. Okay, and generally when you're dealing with Metahumans, you'll start with one of these and then you can modify them. Okay, we're not going to go into the process at the moment, so we're just going to pick somebody. We'll pick, say, Danielle, and we'll see her information is shown on the right hand side. The Start MHC, that's the Metahuman creator, so that's where you can then go in and, using Danielle, for example, as the base model, you can then modify that model and change everything about the character, but at least you're starting with a base model. But we're happy with Danielle the way she is. We're going to import her. So down here you'll have a download button. Okay, so if you click on the download button, that'll take a good 2 to 3 minutes, depending on your internet speed, to download the model to your PC. Okay, once it's downloaded, then the add button will be enabled, and the add button is going to add it into your current project. Okay, so once the download's finished, it'll take a little while, then come to the add button, click on the add button and you'll see Unreal loading Danielle into the game. You'll see there might be some pop-ups about project settings. We need to turn some things on. There might be some other stuff that turn stuff on, enable missing. Once it's all downloaded, if you've needed to turn on some other options, you might need to restart the game. So we will do that now. So we're back into the project. We don't need Quixel Bridge for the moment. We can minimize that. If we come down to the left-hand side now, we'll see we have Metahumans folder being created. And here's Danielle inside the Metahumans folder. We have a blueprint class for Danielle, and we have all her characteristics, the hair, etc. set up. Now, the first thing we need to do is to retarget the Quinn animation blueprint, which is the current model, to the Metahuman skeletal mesh. So the way to do that is we go to the left here to content, and we're looking for ABP Quinn. Okay, so if you come into the little search box here, put ABP_Q, you'll find ABP Quinn. So this animation blueprint here. Okay, we right click on that, and then up here you'll see retarget animation assets. Okay, and we select duplicate and retarget animation blueprint. We'll have this little icon come up. And here we want to do the retargeter. Over here we need to select the RTG mannequin. It should come up automatically. If not, you can use the search box to find it, but generally it'll come up here as the first option, RTG mannequin. And you'll see we have the two mannequins here. We see it's going from SKM Manny to SKM Manny, but we want to retarget that to our new character. And what we're looking for here is to find the Metahumans model. So we come down to Browse, and we come down to the Metahumans, and Common, Danielle, sorry. And go to Danielle, go to Female, go to Medium, Underweight, Body, and we'll find this, F-Med Underweight Body. Now, all the Metahumans will have a standard naming convention for this mesh. Okay, so it'll be the gender, so this is F for female, the height, in this case it's medium, and the weight, this is underweight. Okay, so this is the one we want to use. So if we find that, click on it, and then up here we say use selected asset from content browser. Okay, you'll see it'll pick it up. Don't worry that it looks a bit strange. That's all good. Next important thing is we want to rename this asset. If we don't rename it, then it's very hard to find the particular asset. We'll have duplicates of the Manny asset. Okay, so I generally will give the name of the person we're downloading. So in this case, it's Danielle. Okay, you can call it what you like. You can have any sort of prefix you like, but I will go Danielle _, for example. And then we want to say, where do we want to put this new retargeted asset? Okay, so I would generally have it in my own folder for this. So if we go to change, and we're in here, we've got characters, okay, we've got mannequins, etc. It's up to you. We can actually create a new folder. We'll put a new folder here and say custom metas. I spell, can't type, custom metas. Okay, so I'm going to put it into custom metas just to keep it separate. So we've configured the prefix, we've configured where it's going to, we've said retarget SK Manny to the underweight body, and we're going to retarget. And you'll see it'll do some work here. And down the bottom now you'll see all the new animations that have come up, and as we said, prefix them with Danielle. It makes it easy for us to find as we move forward. It's a good idea at this stage to save everything, just to be sure we're not going to have a crash and lose something later on. Everything's saved. Okay, now what we need to do is we're going to find the third person character controller, because it's the one we're going to change. So if we go down to Content, Third Person, Blueprints, and we find the blueprint for the third person character. Okay, let's duplicate that. So right click and duplicate, and we're going to create a new one. And I again like to keep the same sort of process. We're going to rename it BP Daniel. Double click Daniel, BP Daniel, to open it up in the blueprint editor. Once in the blueprint editor, go to the viewport tab. So across the top here we have a bunch of tabs. Open up the viewport tab where you'll see a picture of the model. With that open, we want to go back to the solution. We want to find the Metahuman. So go into the Metahumans folder, find Danielle, and in the Danielle folder, you'll see we have the blueprint for Danielle. We're going to double click that one to open it up as well up here in the blueprint editor. Okay, one sort of change I will make here that I forgot to mention. When we copied the third person blueprint, so back in here the blueprint's third person, and we duplicated the third person character, it's best to rename the output to say BP Daniel character, because we have another blueprint called BP Daniel, so it gets a bit confusing if we have the same name. Okay, so when you create that, duplicate it, called BP Daniel character. Okay, and we'll double click that to open. So we have BP Daniel, which is the one from the Metahuman, and BP Daniel character. You may see a missing plugin come up. Again, we've got a missing plugin here called Rig Logic. We'll enable this plugin. Don't think we need to restart it this time. Yes, we do. Okay, so we'll need to restart. It seems sometimes that there may be some new plugins that are required as the Metahuman process or the Metahuman program gets updated, because I didn't have that before. Let's restart and come back in. So we're back in. We go back to where we were before. We want to open up BP Daniel character. So open her up, and then we'll go and find the Metahuman for Danielle. I want to open up Blueprint Daniel. Okay, so we have both open, BP Daniel character and BP Danielle. I'll make this a little bit bigger. You can see. We want to be on the viewport on both screens. So viewport on Daniel character and viewport on this one. Okay, so we can see the models in both of them. So going to the BP Daniel blueprint, we want to look to the left-hand side here. We have the meshes. Okay, you can see BP Daniel, the root, and the body. We want to click on the body, so select the body. And then on the right-hand side, come down to mesh. Okay, down here where it says skeletal mesh. And we want to navigate to this particular mesh. We can see this is F medium underweight body. That's the mesh. Okay, but what we want to do is we want to browse to that. Okay, so the little icon under here says to browse to it. Okay, and we see back on the Content Explorer, we've browsed to that particular mesh. Then back on the Blueprint Editor, go to BP Daniel character, and we want to replace the mesh on this one. So on the left-hand side, again, BP Daniel character, we have the mesh. We'll click on that, so we're looking at the whole mesh. And on the right-hand side, we want to replace the Quinn mesh with the mesh that we've selected here. So again, we use this little icon here which says whatever is selected in the content browser replaces the mesh that's there. Okay, so you can see that's replaced it. Looks a bit strange, but that's okay. We'll continue on and explain why that is. Then we need to go back to BP Daniel. And back on BP Daniel, we can see we have all these components: the feet, the legs, the torso, the face. We need to copy those across. So we're going to control-click all of these. She doesn't have a mustache or a beard, but that's fine. So we'll click all of these and then Control-C to copy. Copy. Go across to the new character, and then here under the mesh, we're doing a Control-V to bring all those attributes across. Okay, so now we have the face, the legs, the torso sitting inside, and the feet inside this mesh, but they're not linked, they're not underneath the character mesh. So we need to click and drag each of these to put them underneath the character mesh. So we'll just do this one by one. So just select the feet, whoops, drag the feet, put that onto the mesh, drag the legs, put that onto the mesh, the torso, put that onto the mesh, the face, put that onto the mesh, and then just check that everything's fine. So we should have, let's minimize that. You should see in the end the mesh, the face, the feet, the torso, and the legs. Okay, I think we've got them all. No other parts of the body that we've missed. Okay, and then within the face you should have these ones. Sometimes you see that these can end up outside the face, which means you've just got to drag them back in so they're underneath the face. You don't want to have a mustache that's not on the face. That wouldn't be very pretty at all. Okay, just do a quick compile and save, make sure everything's okay. Also note that the order of these here don't make any difference. It doesn't matter what order they're in. They may be in a different order when you come to that. The next step is to realign them. You can see this is all a bit skewy from the middle there. So if we select the four icons, face, feet, torso, legs, and on the right hand side here we have location transform. So we're just going to click reset and reset. Okay, once you've done that, you should see the character changes and you should be looking off to the right. That's to know that it's happened correctly. Now we're going to reset the animation blueprint on this. So we click on the mesh on the left here, so you've got the main mesh for the whole character. On the right hand side here panel, on the details you have the animation. Make sure the animation mode is use animation blueprint, and we need to tell it the blueprint we want to use. And this will be the one we retargeted initially, way back when we did the first retargeting. So the Daniel ABP Quinn we want to do. Daniel ABP Quinn. Okay. Now switch back to the blueprint Daniel up the top, and on the left hand side we can see enable master pose. Under functions on the left we've got these construction script enable master pose. Click on enable master pose, press Ctrl+C, go back to the BP Daniel character, and under functions here click there and Ctrl+V. Okay, so we're putting enable master pose script onto this character. What we need to do here though is this body here is not actually valid. We need to put this mesh up here down here to link it to this control. So up here click on the mesh character, click and drag across into here so we get a variable for the mesh, and then link the mesh to the new master bone. Okay, and then we can get rid of the body. Okay, and then just compile and save. To be short. Now we go back to Blueprint Daniel again, and we have a look at the construction script. So double click construction script. And we'll see in the construction script we have these enable master pose icons. Okay, we need these first three, so click and drag to outline those first three. Don't get any more, so you should have those 6 or the 3 down the bottom and those there. Grab those, Ctrl+C to copy, go back to BP Daniel character, go to the functions construction script, open that up, paste these in, and then link that to the construction script starting point. Okay, so it's connected up. So it enables the master pose for each of those. Let's compile and save. We're almost done. So now we simply want to connect this to our main character controller. So coming back down now to the project, we'll just put this out of the way. That's not confusing. So back in your content browser, let's come down to third-person blueprints, where we had the character as well, and the third-person character. And we also got the third-person game mode. So we want to open up the blueprint for the third-person game mode. And then down here we have the default pawn class. So this is the default character. We don't want to use the standard one, we want to use Daniel. So then we choose blueprint Daniel character, which is now the default spawn class. And compile and save. And we have one more thing to do before we're ready. We have to go back to the animation blueprint. So if we go back to where we created the initial character, that was custom metas. And down here we have Daniel ABP Manny, the animation blueprint, right? And it's the Manny we want to use. It's the root for the Quinn. So we double click on the Manny animation blueprint, open it up, and coming into the animation graph, so on the right hand side we have animation graph. We can see this stuff with the flashing stuff coming across. What we want to do here is disconnect this bit in the middle. So we don't want this control V stuff. So if you do an Alt click there and an Alt click there to disconnect, and then just drag and drag this across to there. We're just bypassing. Okay. So we're just bypassing this other bit in the middle. I think that worked. Yep. Okay, and then compile and save. Okay, you should see that going across like that way. Now we're ready to go. So if we now run the game, there we have our new girl running around in the game. So instead of a robot, we have a human being. Ta-da! Wahey! And of course you can create your own Metahuman and import your own Metahuman into the game. Okay. Thanks very much. Hope that was useful, and I'll maybe see you again. Bye.